Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to talk about all things professional wrestling, all the action inside and outside of the ring, of course. We also talk about from AEW to WWE, maybe some MLW if you want to spice it up a little bit. Also, the National Wrestling Association, Major League Wrestling. Basically, if it makes, professional wrestling headlines and, if it's a newsworthy topic, we're going to talk about it here on the GSMC Sports Network. So, hope you guys had a great not Thursday. It's not Thursday yet. Today's Wednesday. Today is hump day. I know, guys, hey, don't get too crazy. We're not thinking like that. You're just right there. You're getting over that hump. You're coming right downhill. It's Thursday and Friday into the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. For those who work on, 9 to 5 jobs and stuff like that, So let's go ahead and enjoy our company for the next hour. Let's talk about some awesome, hot professional wrestling news. And let's do it. Welcome to GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric, here. Remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Here on tap today for our show, we have our WWE NXT review. We have our AEW Dynamite preview. Then we're going to talk a little bit about Stone Cold Steve Austin is coming to WrestleMania 41 to potentially fight CM Punk. In the news, they've been kind of, she kind of, messed around, kind of flirting a little bit. So I just kind of, want to air out all the dirty laundry, talk about it a little bit. And then we're going to talk about TripleMania, XXX, recently over three events. In Latin America, they've had this TripleMania, which is like WrestleMania for all over the world, so to speak. And on October not. Oh my God, I'm already thinking too much ahead of myself. On August 17th, they had an event in Mexico City. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about what it means for professional wrestling, what it means for WWE, and what it means for the three wrestlers who picked up amazing victories. We had, Matt Riddle win the Cruiserweight Championship. We had Nick Nemeth lose against, the WWE former WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. We also saw Santam Singh, AEW superstar, team up with Jinder Mahal, and they became the tag team champions of that brand. So, we're going to talk about how it affects, basically everything. We're going to talk about, of course, every single Wednesday, I leave you guys with my Wednesdays weekly wrestling news. We talk about all the major headlines in terms of professional wrestling. So, let's go ahead and do it. Let's jump on into it. But before we do any of that, I want to remind you guys to hit up the super chat, 1,010%. So, honestly, if you guys have a burning question or hot take in terms of professional wrestling, don't be shy. This show is, if you have a burning secret, just kidding, no secrets, no secrets. I'm just kidding. No, we are all ears here at the GSMC Sports Network. This show is about keeping the conversation lively and making sure your voice is part of the mix. So don't be shy. Leave your comment, leave your questions, leave your concerns, your thoughts, your opinions inside the chat. And if you guys honestly really want to make sure your comment or question gets noticed, why not use this super chat? Just hit that $sign below the chat box, send in your message, and it's guaranteed to get featured on the show. Plus, it's a great way to support our channel. So your super chats help us keep the lights on and bring even awesome more awesome wrestling content to you guys. We are so grateful for each and every one of you here on the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, obviously makes a hell of a difference. So, let's keep this conversation going, keep the party going first and foremost. And, let's send in those super chats, those super stickers, because you guys are super awesome. And together we will make sure this show is bigger, better, and stronger than ever. And, if the super chat is not your thing, we are still here at the GSMCpodcast.net. Hit up that tits and donations link at the GSMCpodcast.net. And, shoot me your comments, questions, concerns. Superman punch that like and subscribe button. Of course, always follow the show. Always follow the network here on the GSMC Sports Network so we can go ahead and, let's get this going. Let's get this going. All right. So we got segment one. We're going to talk about some WWE NXT. So obviously we are on the road to No Mercy. This was kind of no, it wasn't the Fallout show. It wasn't the Fallout show, but it was obviously in this episode of NXT, you saw multiple title matches confirmed. We are now confirmed that Roxanne Perez will take on Jada Parker. We have Joe Hendry taking on Ethan Page for the WWE NXT World Heavyweight Championship. We also have Kelani Jordan taking on Wendy Choo. Tag team champions, might have to defend their titles to the former champions, Axiom and Nathan Frazier. And it looks like the Dawn of NXT wants to challenge Oba Femi. So, it was a pretty big episode of NXT, to be honest. So let's go and talk about, the beginning of NXT. So we had Nathan Frazier and Axiom taking on Duke Hudson and Riley Osborne. Obviously, you saw Axiom and Nathan Frazier defeat Hudson and Osborne, which was pretty important in my opinion. I feel like Axiom and Nathan Frazier do deserve a rematch at the tag team titles. They've held the tag team titles, pretty prominently within their run on WWE NXT, and of course, defeating basically half of Chase U with Duke Hudson, also Riley Osborne. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Building up momentum to a potential, maybe getting your titles back at WWE NXT No Mercy could possibly be, it could be big. It could be big. And it'd definitely be a nice title match, a nice, kind of run it back, run it back. And I think it's going to be amazing. Honestly, I can't really think of, two other guys that could possibly challenge Chase U for the NXT World Tag Team titles that could, have a way better match than Axiom and Nathan Frazier. So, definitely loved how that went. Also, we saw Lola Vice lose against Wendy Choo. I saw this coming. I talked about it on the last podcast. You kind of have to have overall momentum heading toward WWE NXT No Mercy. And Wendy Choo is, she's gunning for the NXT World, a North American Women's Champion, Kelani Jordan. She's not going to stop. She's going to keep doing what she's doing. These creepy promos, these sneak attacks, and messing with the mind of Tatum Paxley, most likely trying to kind of get her on her side. So I think it's important that Lola Vice, kind of took the L tonight. It's going to make for a way better matchup for Wendy Choo taking on the NXT North American Champion Kelani Jordan at NXT No Mercy. So definitely thought that was the right thing to kind of do in terms of that. All right, so next we have Fallon Henry and JC Jane cut a strong pre-taped promo alongside Jasmine Nix to introduce the Fatal Influence. I'm not too sure if they're going to make their way into the WWE Women's World Title division just yet. I know it's kind of, I don't know. It's been kind of different. It's been kind of different ever since you saw the Unholy Union, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. They're great champions. I think overall. I feel like if you are going to put the belts on, two women's competitors, I feel like overall it should be a tag team. Should it be two main women's superstars like Jade Cargill, also Bianca Belair, and now you have this, pure fusion collective with, the manager Sonya Deville, Zoe Stark, also Shayna Baszler. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. I believe 1,010% that Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler deserve a little bit more respect, to deserve a little bit, time to be in the limelight to really show, honestly, 1,010% of what they can exactly do. So, kind of having this NXT team kind of rise above with JC Jane, Jasmine Nix, they're very marketable, competitors. You can, feature them on Instagram, social media. They post on Instagram and social media, TikTok, Twitter/X very often. So it's a nice way to kind of blur the lines between, like what Triple H likes to say, reality and basically fictional storytelling and stuff like that. So I have high hopes for this newly formed, Fatal Influence. Next, we have the number one contendership for the Gauntlet match, the Eliminator. We saw Ren Sinclair, Soruka, Adriana Rizzo. We also saw Brindley Reese got the fourth spot, followed by Kendall Gray. And of course, we saw Jada Parker. And overall, I knew Jada Parker was probably going to get the victory out of all these women. Not that I'm trying to throw shade or not that I'm trying to, delude any of the momentum that these girls kind of have going for them heading toward WWE NXT No Mercy. But I think overall it was important. It was important for Jada Parker to win this match to kind of keep, she could dish it back to Roxanne Perez. And I kind of touched on this a couple of podcasts ago. Roxanne Perez, she's that know-it-all. She's that, that kind of, that bad, that self-centered, conceited because she's a two-time NXT World Women's Champion. And, by all means, she's, up there with Shayna Baszler with basically being like, yeah, honestly, I kind of have my stuff. So, my BS don't stink. You know what I mean? So Jada Parker winning this match, I'm gonna love the promos. Obviously, we have about a week and a half. Obviously, WWE with this new digital era have used social media like TikTok, Instagram, X/Twitter for a reason, for a way to kind of promote overall, the matches. So, I feel like Jada Parker and Roxanne Perez is gonna, they're gonna throw down on No Mercy September 1st. So I can't wait to watch that. All right, so next we have let me check my notes. Luke Gallows and Karl Anderson taking on Hank Walker and Tank Ledger. I ultimately thought that Luke Gallows and Karl Anderson were going to pick up the dub. I thought it was going to be one of those matches where Hank and Tank they might lose, but overall it's like whether even if you lose you kind of win, and the match was great. It was a great match, 1,010%. Hank and Tank they won cleanly. They beat the OC by pinfall. Um, but the match was, honestly, it's kind of fairly ordinary, but the result raised this to the point where genuinely important moments in the tag team division on NXT. So I definitely liked how that kind of worked out. Hank and Tank, I believe, are future NXT World Tag Team title holders. Obviously, you kind of have what's happening with Chase U right now. I kind of liked it. I kind of liked the promo that Ridge Holland cut saying that like this is, some of the, in terms of his professional wrestling career, this run with Chase U is probably, his most favorite because first and foremost, he's not pissed off. He's not grumpy. He's also, he's not depressed. He's not in this dark state of mind like he was with the Battling Brutes or like he was when he started in NXT when you had Shawn Spears manipulate him. So, definitely think 1,010% Rich Holland is heading toward the right direction. Next we saw Tony D'Angelo spine buster, Oba Femi. We saw this building up 2 weeks ago. You saw Tony D'Angelo interrupt Oba Femi's promo backstage, and then vice versa. You saw Tony D'Angelo cut a promo, and then you saw the NXT North American Champion, the big bad Oba Femi, get involved as well. So there's no doubt in my mind that these guys are gonna, they're gonna have a behemoth match at NXT, No Mercy. And I think it's going to be great. Ashante the Adonis taking on Dion Alexa. We saw Adonis defeat Lennox. I don't know if it's French, it's like Lunette, by pinfall. And then we saw Lexis King interrupt Last Legend and Jakara Jackson, but they weren't, obviously they weren't interested in whatever Alexis King really has to say. The number one contendership match and the main event, we saw Pete Dunne, Wesley, and Joe Hendry fight in a triple threat match for the number one contendership for Ethan Page's the WWE NXT World Heavyweight Championship at No Mercy. And we saw exactly what we knew was going to happen. We saw Trick Williams kind of get involved, distracting Pete Dunne. We saw Zachary Wentz jump Wesley from the crowd, kind of crazy. And then, overall, you had the standing ovation. You saw Joe Hendry become the first ever TNA superstar to challenge a WWE superstar for a WWE main card title. All great. Like I said, I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe that he's going to usher in this new era of NXT on the CW. He's an international star. He's very likable. He gets the crowd into it. So 1,010% my vote, my support. My main man is going to be Joe Hendry from TNA. From Scotland, from Canada. and Mexico say that I believe in Joe Hendry. I was just so happy he won the match. I thought that was pretty cool. All right, guys. Hey, do not go anywhere. We're going to jump on into our next segment. We're going to talk about AEW Dynamite preview, the first ever international Dynamite in the company's history. So, hey, grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage, and join me after this break. So, hey, do not go anywhere.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on their fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time, here to talk about everything in terms of professional wrestling. Just kind of reflect on what we talked about right quick. We talked about our WWE NXT preview. Now we're going to talk about AEW Dynamite. So make sure you guys do not go anywhere, 1,010%. But before we do any of that, excuse me, I want to remind you guys to hit up this super chat box. Whether if you got a burning question or a hot take in terms of professional wrestling, we are all ears. This show is all about keeping the conversation going, keeping it lively, making sure your voice is part of the mix. So don't be shy. Drop your thoughts inside the chat. And if you really want to make sure your question or comment gets noticed, why not use that super chat? Just go ahead and hit that $ below the chat box, send in your message, and it's guaranteed that your question, your statement, your comment, whatever, will be noticed on the show. So that'd be pretty awesome. Plus, it's a great way to support our channel. Your super chats keep the lights on, keeps us alive, so to speak, and brings even more awesome wrestling content or the show that you're watching, content that you love going so much. We also are very grateful for each and every one of you here at the GSMC Sports Network. Those who join us here on the daily, nightly, your support makes a lot of the difference. So let's keep this conversation going. Send in those super chats, send in those super stickers, because you guys are super awesome. And together we will make sure this show is way bigger, better, and stronger than ever. Also, if the super chat is not your thing, we are still at the GSMC podcast.net. Hit up that tips and donations link. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. Remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show here at the GSMC Sports Network. We do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity 1,010% of the way. So go ahead and just be part of the show. I'm waiting for you guys. Waiting. All right, so it's going to talk about some AEW Dynamite. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. AEW Dynamite, for the first time in company's history, is taking it international from Cardiff, Wales, United Kingdom. Obviously, this is the last show. This is the last Dynamite before AEW's All In on Sunday, August 25th. It's going to be awesome. You can buy it at Bleacher Report. You can buy it on YouTube. Pay-per-view. Be there. I'm just kidding. No, it's a lot of matches. I am, highly looking forward to what Tony Khan has to present. And this show's going to be badass. But, off the hook, this show's going to be amazing because New Day Rock. I'm just kidding. No, I don't know why when I said because it's just, it's not New Day Rock. That's WWE. But, you have this new streaming deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. AEW programming is essentially getting the deal they want. So, they're gonna buff this up. They're gonna buff. Yeah, essentially, this is their biggest event of the year. This is WrestleMania. This is WrestleMania 4. The reason why we love the Triple H Paul Levesque era. It all started with Cody Rhodes taking the reins from Roman Reigns. It's kind of funny how that kind of worked out, but I'm just kidding. So this is big. This is probably the biggest all in we're ever going to see from AEW from like 5 years prior to 5 years in the future, because this is it. You got to get fans interested in AEW. This, they get some they get viewers for starting wrestling promotion. That's something that you cannot ultimately bag on. But AEW, this all in is going to be the best all in, I guarantee you. So honestly, I'm buying it. I'm buying it 1,010%. I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be great. You have a championship versus title match. You have Will Ospreay taking on the cocky MJF, timeless Toni Storm taking on Mariah May, and probably the best women's storyline in professional wrestling history. You also have oh god, you have Darby Allin taking on the scapegoat Jack Perry in a coffin match. It's going to be great. I think overall it's going to be one of the best pay-per-views in the world. But let's talk about Dynamite. Today is Dynamite, so let's not get too ahead of ourselves. So yeah, all right. So our announced card thus far, we have a title match. Sorry, excuse me. We have a title match. We have the Continental Championship match between Kazuchika Okada taking on Claudio Castagnoli. And Castagnoli made it clear that, kind of something that a lot of us wrestling fans have kind of speculated, that Okada doesn't seem like the same Okada. He doesn't seem like he's the Rainmaker that came out of TNA, debuted in New Japan Professional Wrestling, became Dave Meltzer's favorite person to name 5-star matches. He just doesn't look like that same guy. Right off the bat, I just don't see it. I don't think he's, Okada, now he's kind of like a one-trick pony. Now he uses the B word, he's like something, something. Like, and then he's like, I'll see you at, this and that and the other. Like, it's to the point where it's like, all right, like, ever since he signed with AEW, Kazuchika Okada went from a failure in TNA, made his way to New Japan Professional Wrestling for a fresh start. Now he's in AEW, got that awesome contract with Will Ospreay as well as Mercedes Moné. When in March in the AEW of this year, actually. I think it's still 2024, yeah. And he's not the same. He's not the same. It needs to be fixed. This storyline between the Young Bucks, Okada, Jack Perry, you're seeing Jack Perry kind of do his own thing already. Like it's to the point where Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, I think they kind of hate this new thing that by the Elite as well. But then you saw the formation of the Elite happen. MJF was injured. No CM Punk. No Cody Rhodes. Jade Cargill left for WWE. And, it was to the point where AEW creative was like, you know what? We have to, kind of build around the two guys that we trust the most. And the two guys we, unfortunately trust. Kenny Omega's gone. He's injured. So, you have the Young Bucks, the founders of AEW. They're like, you know what? We'll figure something out. We will figure something out to get this crowd going. And being brutally honest, I'm sorry, but it's not working. I don't think it's working at all. Well, that's just my opinion. Obviously, if you have something different, hit it up in the chat. But I just don't see this Young Bucks storyline going with this Elite thing. You had the Young Bucks kind of take a little bit of time off of the TNT air because, trying to sell out the match between Blood and Guts. But you see Mark Briscoe fight, 1,010%. You see Swerve fight. You've seen Darby Allin fight like this, and then where to be found is the AEW World Tag Team Champions. Maybe I might be a little bit too harsh on the Young Bucks because I do kind of feel like nowadays they are a one-trick pony. They have the potential to be absolutely amazing. I've seen them in the independent wrestling circuit. Obviously, my boys from Rancho Cucamonga, Southern California, right in my backyard. But I don't know. I don't know it's so crazy. Like when you're watching it, for me, I don't know if I'm just a wrestling dork, or if I'm weird for noticing it, but it just doesn't even seem like they're like really enjoying themselves anymore. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if I don't know. Maybe if I'm weird, I could be. I'm a weird. Obviously I'm a wrestling fan. I'm just kidding. Not saying wrestling fans are weird. Not saying that. No, I'm just kidding. No, but like we are a selected breed. For me, I'm very like it's basically watching like staged, choreographed entertainment, and you can kind of tell when the actors are like, if you're watching like a Hollywood movie, when you kind of watch things and you're like, man. Like, it seems like that kind of person's having a hard time, kind of playing that role a little bit. For me, that's how I feel like it is with Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. I feel like, let the wrestling speak for themselves. On the mic, they're all right, but let the wrestling talk for you, man. Like go into the ring and, prove, kind of back your stuff up the way you have your whole entire career inside the ring, back up your stuff and kick some ass. And with this whole elite thing, I don't know. It's I'm not buying it. Like I get what AEW is trying to do, but I don't know. I just kind of feel for Matthew and Nicholas Jackson because you kind of did have all the pressure kind of rely on them. Like I said, MJF gone, CM Punk, um, you know, um, Cody Rhodes gone, and then they were trying to promote Swerve Strickland, and then you knew Samoa Joe was going to leave in a couple of months to film his TV show, and it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, 1,010%. But I just want to see the Young Bucks get back to being the Young Bucks, 1,010%. All right, next we have the AEW Women's World Championship. We have Timeless Toni Storm taking on Saraya. Nothing's going to happen. Timeless Toni Storm's going to win this because they want this match at All In to be a banger. Banger after banger after banger. So why would Saraya win the championship? She is the birthday girl. It was her birthday 2 weeks ago, and her contract is up in September. So a lot of decisions by AEW. Saraya, definitely love and respect her as Paige, also as an AEW superstar. So 1,010%. We all know that it's going to be Timeless Toni Storm. But I do feel like maybe Mariah May kind of gets her hands on this a little bit. Maybe Mina Shirakawa, shows which side she is on tonight, or maybe she makes it seem like she's on the side of Toni Storm, backing her up, helping her against Saraya's tag team partner. She's like, yeah, 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 yeah. But then on Sunday when they fight at All In, Mina Shirakawa turns her back, and then it's like, oh no, like what the hell? Like that's crazy. That could possibly be it. Next, we have the cold-hearted, handsome devil Hook taking on big. Oh my god, I wanted to say it so bad. Big B word Bill. This match, it's not really going to be much. It's just kind of. I think it's going to end with Hook maybe seeming like he's going to. I feel like he's going to need some help. I feel like you're going to have Shibata. You're going to have Hook and Shibata laid out in the middle of the ring. You're going to have the Bad Apple, Big Bill, and Chris Jericho standing tall tonight on AEW Dynamite. And it's going to force Taz. It's going to force Taz to come out of retirement to help his son even the odds at All In. Obviously, the World Championship, always, it's going to be hardcore. It's going to be no rules. It's going to, it's bedlam. So it's absolutely perfect, 1,010%, that you kind of have this build up. You kind of have a point where you have Shibata, you have Hook to a point where they're like, man, we need a third. They can't get anyone on their back. Obviously, you have Samoa Joe injured. And, I feel like Taz is ultimately going to help his son win back the AEW FTW championship. And I feel like that would be lit. Next, we have Chris Jericho taking on the Dynamite Kid Billington. So that should be a pretty good one. We see a face-off between Will Ospreay and MJF. We also have, speculation of involvement from United Kingdom, independent wrestling talents. Hopefully they're all not, jobbers and stuff like that. That would be terrible. So, but yeah. All right, guys. Hey, do not go anywhere. We're going to jump on into our third segment. We're going to talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Rattlesnake, the DTA. Don't trust Austin. Don't trust Austin. And we're going to talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin coming to WrestleMania 41. So, hey, do not go anywhere. Grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite cold beverage, and join me in about 20 seconds. So, hey, do not go anywhere.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right. We are here at the GSMC Sports Network to give you the best damn wrestling podcast in the sports entertainment industry. Here at the GSMC Sports Network, we give you guys a lot of love. Definitely love the way you guys send some chats. Love the way you guys give your wrestling, future rumors and promos in terms of that. Also, remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show here at the GSMC Sports Network. We do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity 1,010%. Of the time. I'm just going to reflect on what we talked about. We had our WWE NXT review, then we talked about our AEW Dynamite preview, and now we're going to talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Rattlesnake, coming to WrestleMania 41. So yeah, it's going to do it. But obviously, before we get into that, you'll make sure you guys hit up that super chat, hit up those super stickers because you guys are super awesome. Together, we can make the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast. We can make it great again. I'm just kidding. No, that was probably I apologize for that. Yeah, just kidding. It's kind of funny. But overall, definitely want to hear your guys' opinions. Want to hear your hot takes in terms of professional wrestling. Obviously, we can't keep this show going without you guys. So to keep the lights on and to keep this show that you guys love so damn much going, hit up that super chat box right under that dollar sign. And yeah, if the super chat thing isn't your thing, we can also, you can also hit up the tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net. Shoot me your comments, questions, and concerns. Make sure your Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Also, make sure you guys, just tell me how you feel. There's no right or wrong answers inside the chat. Be silly, be crazy. We're wrestling fans. So, I'm no judgment. I think it's like, no judgment like ever. All right, so we're going to talk about some Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm just kidding on that. It was actually a pretty kick-ass song, to be honest. I love Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme song. Definitely one of my favorites because when you hear the glass shatter, you just know it's about to go down, dude. It's about to go down. Oh, Stone Cold Steve Austin, obviously, he was injured. His neck, he got injured by, I think there was the botched pile driver by Owen Hart. I think that was the case. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But, Stone Cold Steve Austin could have been a lot more popular, I feel like. He did definitely retire a little bit too young, but hey, when it comes to your neck, obviously nowadays we do have that neck fusion surgery that you have. You have Big E. You also have Kyle O'Reilly back in the mix. You see Bobby Roode training as well. So a lot of Super Edge came back. Bryan Danielson came back when they were both told that, hey, dude, sorry, you can never wrestle again. And all of a sudden you get a call from your doctor. You're like, dude, you're medically cleared. Like, it's like, what? That's crazy. But, quite a turn of events there. So, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and, I definitely feel like he could have been more than he already was over the top in terms of being popular, in terms of WWF/WWE. So, now let's talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin coming to WrestleMania 41. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Tyson and Austin, freaking Jim. Oh, I love Jim Ross. Jim Ross and, Stone Cold Steve Austin was awesome. The main event of WrestleMania 40 with John Cena and The Undertaker. There were speculations, they kind of helped Cody Rhodes out. and there were speculations that it was supposed to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. Obviously, once when Austin was asked about helping Cody Rhodes, he was like, you know what, like I'll help Cody Rhodes again. Like, why not? Like, let's do it. If you need some backup, it's kind of crazy. Stone Cold Steve Austin told Adrian Hernandez in an interview. He said, and I quote, "It was close, basically close, him coming to Philadelphia to WrestleMania. They certainly reached out to me, but my wife and I had some things going on. I didn't really have a chance to go to Philly. But if it being in Vegas, I hope it'll be this year. Stone Cold Steve Austin, quote unquote, never says no to Vegas. Why not? Because he's a huge superstar. Everybody knows him. He's been in movies. I remember watching him in The Longest Yard, and that football movie with it was a remake with Adam Sandler, and it was Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was great. I feel like he was great inside of it. He had the Condemned. He was also in the Condemned as well. Hernandez mentioned Cody Rhodes, and Stone Cold Steve Austin had this to say, and I quote, he said, "If he needs another hand, I'll be there." You know, kind of like what I was alluding to a little earlier, that I feel like he ultimately, was that first supposed to be there for Cody Rhodes. You had Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock feud a lot back in WWF in the 90s. That would have been huge. I feel like that would have been more of a spot than The Undertaker. But then you saw The Undertaker come, because obviously I feel like they couldn't find a deal. They couldn't find a way to get Stone Cold Steve Austin. Maybe he was dealing with some personal issues. But ultimately, seeing Stone Cold Steve Austin return to the ring would have been, it would have been impactful. But you can't even downplay that, because with The Undertaker and John Cena helping the WWE Undisputed Champion Cody Rhodes win that belt at WrestleMania 40, you can't really be mad at the outcome, because it was beautiful. It was great. It was riveting. It was goosebumps. Goosebumps on the back of my hands to the back of my neck. It was absolutely amazing. Some of the best wrestling storytelling I have ever seen in my whole entire life as a wrestling fan. And that's exactly what they're doing today with the bloodline. With the bloodline, 1,010%. They interviewed Paul Heyman, and he said, honestly, this bloodline storyline is only in the third inning. A lot of people are like, what? That's crazy. I don't see how having this bloodline storyline stretched out could be beneficial for anybody on the main roster that, are members of the bloodline. Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Roman Reigns, Jamie and Jey Uso, maybe Zila Fatu, maybe Hikuleo, perhaps Tamatonga and Tongaloa. They're right now, professional wrestling is kind of in a renaissance. It's kind of setting this new standard of professional wrestling, needing this kind of form of cinema. And it's absolutely, to the credit of Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Dwayne The Rock Johnson holds chairman position inside TKO Holdings, obviously in partnerships of the UFC. So then, obviously, with a lot of Hollywood background, you'd be like, you know what, I've kind of studied movies a little bit, like, not to brag, but I've studied movies a little bit. I know how to get the fans hooked. I know how to kind of get them, grilling and waiting and fighting for more. So, 1,010%. Next, we see CM Punk also is open with the match with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Maybe. I I honestly think maybe. Ever since the two had a badass promo backstage on Monday Night Raw back in 2011, people have had this Stone Cold Steve Austin taking on CM Punk match as a dream match. And, I could definitely 1,010% see it. Obviously, anywhere you put Stone Cold Steve Austin, it's going to be a banger. Um, but with CM Punk, with this whole thing with Drew McIntyre, it seems like it's kind of dragging on a little bit. I can't wait to see the way they kind of end it. I can't wait to see the way they end it. I feel like ultimately it'll be beneficial for both the superstars. I want to see Drew McIntyre go after Gunther. I do. I feel like he can ultimately dethrone Gunther for that WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And then you have CM Punk kind of go off and do his own thing. He has a feud with Seth. He has a feud with a couple of burdens that he's had in the past. Obviously, kind of being that bad boy, kind of being that against authority, kind of showing that middle finger right there to Vince McMahon. CM Punk was kind of like the nowadays, kind of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Obviously, it wasn't portrayed in terms of storylines and choreography in terms of, when he was doing his thing back in 2011. But Stone Cold Steve Austin and CM Punk, they sat down. They sat down, they had an interview when CM Punk was absolutely fed up with the WWE. CM Punk, had, talking about Ryback, talking about, Triple H, saying, okay, cool, Vince McMahon's doofus son-in-law gets to take over. That's just CM Punk. That's just CM Punk 1,010%. And CM Punk is a superstar you do not want to see walk out your door, because look at what happened to AEW. Look at that. Look at what happened with WWE when he came back. All this showing signs that, CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin could very much be kind of on the same level of popularity in terms of, professional wrestling and stuff like that. So definitely thought that was, super cool. CM Punk, definitely, he said it's been on his dream list as well. The rattlesnake admitted earlier that CM Punk would be a great option should he return to professional wrestling one more match. And CM Punk had this to say, and I quote, he said, "It's up to Steven. It's up to Steven, but he works to go, but if he wants to go to sleep, he can call me." Like, just trash talking, kind of crazy. Go ahead and leave me a chat if you think CM Punk will take on Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 41. I think 1,010% it could be, it could be very much likely. It seems like both the superstars are on board to work with each other. I think the last time Stone Cold Steve Austin fought within a WWE ring, I think it was against Kevin Owens. I think it was, maybe. It was supposed to be against Kevin. I'm not too sure. But Stone Cold Steve Austin, definitely one of those talents that got injured. Definitely could have been bigger and better. If he never would have had that neck injury, he essentially had to call it quits. He was done. You're like, you know what? I don't want to get paralyzed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. So I'm, obviously waiting on pins and needles to find out if we get more information about CM Punk taking on Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 41. So, definitely, make sure you stay tuned to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast to find about, more information in terms of that. All right, so our fourth segment, we're going to go ahead and talk about some TripleMania XXX. Latin America has had 3 events over the span of the year. The recent one that took place was August 17th, where you saw, it was really big. It was really big in Mexico City. We're going to talk about that as soon as we come back. So, hey, do not go anywhere.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right. And welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to talk about everything in terms of professional wrestling, 1,010%, all the action inside and outside of the ring, backstage drama, also, superstar injury updates, contract negotiations, promotions from AEW to WWE to MLW to the NWA. We talk about it here. If it's newsworthy in terms of the professional wrestling industry, we talk about it here on the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast. All right. So without further ado, we're going to talk about some TripleMania 32. So yeah, let's go and dig on and into it. Should be pretty awesome. All right, so we're going to talk about TripleMania XXX11. Basically, it was a 3-day professional wrestling supercard event, 3 shows. over across April 27th, June 15th, and also August the 17th. It was produced and scripted by professional wrestling promotion Lucha Libre, AAA Worldwide. August 17th, you saw Mexico City Arena in Mexico, jam-packed full of professional wrestling fans. Notable matches that I kind of had speculations about. Sorry, excuse me. Had speculations about after I found out, I watched highlights of what exactly happened. We had Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle, obviously a former WWE superstar, win the Cruiserweight championship. I thought that was pretty awesome. I, definitely think 1,010%. He was one of those wrestlers that, maybe kind of bounced out of WWE before his time. But of course, there was a lot of, drama backstage, where Roman Reigns couldn't stand the like of him. And also you had Goldberg, talking mess to him. And Matt Riddle, kind of a hothead, although he kind of comes out like as opposite, or maybe like he comes out as like, you know what, bro, Malibu Barbie. My wife always used to call him Malibu Barbie. I don't know why. Maybe it was the sandals where you jump up, kick him off, and then bang, like you would see Pyro hit the stage. Thought that was pretty badass, 1,010%. And I even, I kind of think Matt Riddle's going to return to WWE eventually. Maybe perhaps, NXT, TNA would be huge. AEW would be kind of a curveball. Kind of a curveball here. I'm not too sure if he would debut in AEW right now. He is kind of predominantly wrestling on the MLW, Major League Wrestling. So, but then again, like in terms of wrestling, I feel like the more and more wrestling collaborates, the more and more you can get the best superstars. And I feel like that's exactly what WWE wanted to accomplish. You had a super show and about a month ago, about a month ago with the debut of Stephanie McCure in WWE. And, of course, you had the Rey Mysterio drama with Dominic Mysterio and stuff like that. But overall, it was a way to kind of introduce wrestling fans in Latin America that we're coming to you guys. We're going to come to you guys more often than not. And, why not? Especially with you getting a lot of that positive publicity. You're getting a chance to meet a lot of new different fan bases. And you also have a chance to see a lot of Latino American professional wrestlers kind of go out there, so to speak, to quote unquote find the next Rey Mysterio. That's obviously the, kind of the breakdown in terms of that. So 1,010% that could definitely be, that is on the list of WWE. It's been confirmed that they want to start pitching ideas. They want to start having shows in Latin America to kind of, and they're gonna use UFC. 1,010%. They're gonna use TKO Holdings and UFC to kind of ultimately do that, because you have UFC opening up a performance center inside Mexico City in the last 4 years, and Dana White is obviously part of it as well. And WWE is like, you know what? Why don't we wet our beak on this action? 1,010%. Right now in the UFC, you have over 150 athletes in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Sorry, I'm not. I wish I was more of a UFC guy, to be honest. Our Latin America, our Latin American 20% are from 20% of the population of MMA fighters, 66 are from Spanish speaking countries. So that could range from like anything in terms of Latin America, not just Mexico. So I think that's, that's crazy. That's awesome. I feel like ultimately, like obviously the UFC and the WWE since their merger, I feel like they have the same goals here. I feel like 1,010% they have the same goals. I feel like WWE fans are trying to attract more, WWE fans to UFC, and I feel like UFC fans are trying to attract UFC fans to WWE a little bit more, to kind of have ultimately this partnership kind of beneficial ever since they absorbed the WWE, and I feel like they've done a pretty damn good job. 1,010%, but the UFC is huge. The UFC is huge in terms of Latin America MMA fighters. Like these guys are dogs. These guys are crazy. Back in 2023, I think Brandon Moreno, I think it was, who won the heavyweight championship. And, it was big. It was big because it was the first ever Latin American champion to represent the company. Ever since then, you've kind of had this huge wave of Latin American MMA superstars kind of make their way up to UFC. and, trying to make a name for themselves. 1,010%. They're out there. They're trying to kick some ass, dude. They're trying to be like, you know what? Since we are part of a country that's, southwest of the United States, doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have talent down here. Doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have the resources to train our superstars. So definitely 1,010% believe that UFC, WWE, TKO definitely could get a lot of combatant sports going in Latin America and kind of own up to it. So that's pretty awesome. Next, we saw Sansom Singh teaming up with Raj Desi, formerly known as Jinder Mahal, the modern day Maharaja, alongside with Jeff Jarrett and Karen Jarrett, winning the AAA World Tag Team Championships. I'm happy. I'm happy that you saw Jinder Mahal finally find a place for him as soon as his 90-day contract was up from WWE after he got released. And I just think it's fitting. I just think it's fitting 1,010%. You have Jinder Mahal come onto the scene. He's a leader. He's a leader. He is a heavyweight. He's a heavyweight facilitator in terms of matches and stuff like that. So 1,010% think this is a great move for all the professional wrestling. Sansom Singh inside the AEW. This guy's dominant. You see him on Rampage and on Collision. So, with this kind of happening, now the question is, when are we going to see Raj Desi make his way to the AEW roster? When do you see, formerly known as Jinder Mahal, Raj Desi inside of, all of the wrestling, Ring of Honor, maybe New Japan Professional Wrestling, maybe the CMLL? Like, who all knows? But they came out, they won the TripleMania XXX AAA World Tag Team titles. So I thought that was pretty cool. Lastly, we have Alberto El Patron, formerly known as Alberto Del Rio, defeat the champion Nick Nemeth with JBL on the side. The moment JBL came out, I watched highlights and people were shocked. They're like, what the heck is going on? It's crazy. But with this new collaboration between the WWE NXT and also TNA Wrestling, for me, it's not such a big deal that you saw JBL go out there with Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, inside the WWE. But I don't know. I just feel like it's just doesn't really make that much of a difference. I feel like 1,010% ultimately, you're trying to bring the top talent to Mexico City to kind of get the fans all excited, to kind of get everybody in the crowd, to kind of inspire new combatant sports, if it's WWE or it's the UFC, people training to be an MMA fighter, people training to be a WWE superstar. It's all the same. You're trying to aspire to be something that you dreamed of your whole entire life. Imagine how many kids were in the crowd. 1,010%. That's a huge reason why you have so many WWE fans today. That's the reason why you have a whole bunch of UFC fans today. I remember growing up, I was kind of like in that golden age. Well, in my opinion, it was like the golden age of UFC. You kind of had Forrest Griffin, you had Matt Hughes, you also have you had Anderson Silva, you saw you saw Brock Lesnar. It's and like these guys, BJ Penn, Frank Mir, like you saw all these guys from that came from like the roots of Ken Shamrock. You saw all these guys that came from the roots of famous MMA fighters that, fought before them, like Randy Couture. The Iceman Chuck Liddell was a little, he was a little seasoned when I first started watching him. Like, he didn't give an F, man. I love the Iceman Chuck Liddell. Like, he came out there with his dad bod, like, walked out there. He was like, boom, like, and that's it. He walks out. He's like, all right, I guess I won. So I definitely thought that was, definitely got to respect, combatant sports. So I thought that was pretty interesting to see Alberto Del Rio or Alberto El Patron pick up the victory over Nick Nemeth after a low blow. Kind of crazy, but I don't know. Can this be hinting at any, possible WWE returns with Nick, with Matt, maybe with Alberto? It's still up in the air. It's still up in the air. And me personally, I like talking about it. I think it's pretty cool to kind of have that speculation and stuff like that. So, call me a wrestling dork, call me a wrestling fan, all you want. But hey, I dig this stuff. I love it. All right, we are on our fifth and final segment. Every Wednesday, I leave you guys with some Wednesdays, weekly wrestling news. I'm going to give you guys some of the top breaking news stories in terms of the professional wrestling industry. So do not go anywhere. I think I'm kind of losing my voice. I'm just kidding. No, actually, I might be. Uh, so if my voice goes out, maybe we'll end it a little early. But we have my man Emran's Soccer Podcast, the GSMC Soccer Podcast, coming up in about 33 minutes. So make sure you stay tuned for that. So, but until then, get ready to talk to me about some professional wrestling news. Obviously, we have some news in terms of wrestling. Hit it up in the chat. It's going to be dope. It's going to be awesome. So, hey, do not go anywhere. All right, all right, all right. And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to talk about all things about professional wrestling, all the action inside and out, backstage juicy rumors. Also, we talk about superstar, contract negotiations, injury updates. Also, maybe if they're trying to jump ship to a different brand, we talk about it here on the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, either if it's from AEW to WWE, Ring of Honor, TNA, MLW, NWA, Stardom, GCW. If it makes wrestling headline news, we talk about it here on the podcast. So, yeah, make sure you tune in every Monday through Friday on the GSMC Sports Network. All right, so we are segment 5, our 5th and final segment. We're going to talk about my Wednesday's wrestling weekly wrestling news. All right, so let's dig on into it. This was one of my favorite news I found out. This whole entire time I've been doing, a lot of segments in terms of, the Hurt Business coming to AEW, maybe Ring of Honor, maybe hell, right, not even TNA. But it's been rumored that Bobby Lashley is ditching professional wrestling for professional boxing. That's crazy. But I feel like 1,010%. I feel like he can do it. I feel like Bobby Lashley can do it 1,010%. There's no doubting Bobby's athletic abilities. He recently joined Misfits Boxing, a promotion started by English YouTuber star KSI. Lashley's obviously has some he's had some interesting experiences within the UFC kind of spectrum, like MMA and stuff like that. Is it possible that we don't even see Bobby Lashley in professional wrestling industry? Perhaps it could be kind of a toss up. A lot of wrestling stars that jump ship to MMA, like UFC, like like CM Punk, like Dave Batista, also Brock Lesnar. Although Brock Lesnar did, he won a championship, so he did, fairly well. But with this, kind of this promotion with KSI, with Logan Paul connected to Jake Paul, obviously you have some strings to pull. 1,010%. And Bobby Lashley looks like he can just absolutely destroy him like an MF, man. It's crazy. This guy can lay hands. This guy can do damage. This guy can send people to the hospital, man. It's crazy. In Bellator, Bobby Lashley's career record was 15-2. And, it's, kind of crazy. Kind of crazy, 1,010%. He had this social media post where he was super excited, and he said, and I quote, The excitement of the future possibilities basically fuels my drive. Each decision opens up new doors, and if I can't wait to see, and I can't wait to see where they basically land. And it was hashtag boxing, hashtag training, hashtag workout. This guy's going to be a boxing star. And it's crazy. Like, you usually, like, just think about it. Just think about if you are an athlete, and essentially nowadays in the digital era, you have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter/X, whatever you like to call it. You can essentially kind of be your own public relations, kind of representative a little bit. So then you post a video of yourself training, and then you're like, hey, honestly, I'm going to do this. If you want to challenge me, basically come get me. Like, look at a match we have right now in boxing. We have Jake Paul taking on Mike Tyson, and it's like, yeah, publicity stunt, maybe. But is it a possibility that a lot of people could make, jump ship, kind of be inspired by what Jake Paul did? Started off as a YouTuber, trained really hard to become a professional boxer. And, I definitely think maybe Bobby Lashley could kind of follow in the footsteps in terms of, Jake Paul. So 1,010%, I believe whatever Bobby does, I would like to see him land in AEW with the Hurt Business, but he's done. He's completely done with WWE. And, it's kind of sad, it's kind of crazy, but, you kind of recently saw someone trademark the Hurt Syndicate. I think it might have been MVP, but, if he wants to go out and he wants to do boxing, dude, why not? Screw it. Like, whatever makes you happy. You know what I mean? So Bobby Lashley can do it. Bobby Lashley, 1,010% could be a professional boxer. But yeah. All right, next we have Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, he's been training nonstop ever since he was cleared to train after his operation. Kenny Omega, there's no set in time in terms of his estimated time of arrival, but Kenny Omega's returning. He's returning to All Elite Wrestling, and he's going to come back bigger and better and stronger than ever. And I feel like when he comes back, it's going to be like a dawning of a new era. I feel like he's not going to come back for like another 6 months. I honestly don't see him coming back sooner than that. Just to kind of watch his own ass a little bit. Like, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to get injured to the point where you can't renegotiate your contract, and then you kind of get left on you, face first in terms of, kind of financial hardships and stuff like that. Fortunately, this world is about making money. It sucks. Like the Beatles said, you can't buy me love, but you can buy a house, you can buy a nice car, you can pay for your kids' college funds. So this whole can't buy me love crap, you lied to me. Damn you, John Lennon and Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and George Harrison. I'm just kidding. Can't hate those guys. Huge Beatles fan. So no, I just think it's kind of crazy. But Kenny Omega is on his way back to AEW. Can't wait to see him come back. It's going to be awesome. Next, we have the birthday girl. The birthday girl about 2 days ago, Saraya, formerly known as Paige in WWE, is trying to structure her new contract. Her contract is up in AEW in September. Can she make it back to WWE? I feel like she can. I feel like it's perfect. I feel like in terms of like on SmackDown, you have Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, seeming like they're, just content with being tag team, competitors. Yeah, dude, that's cool. All right. So now we need some main eventers in terms of the women's division. Someone to take on Nia Jax. How much of an underdog would Saraya be if she made it back to compete against Nia Jax? Or on the Raw women's division, where, the biggest person you have is Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. That's basically it. Lyra Valkyria, it's kind of, she's still training a little bit. Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark are now in a tag team. Sonya Deville wants to pretend like she's all that in a bag of chips, although she's not. So, Saraya coming back to the WWE, I think it'd be huge. I think it'd be great. It'd be great television for wrestling fans. It's going to be interesting to see if Paul Levesque pulls the trigger here. 1,010%. Next, we have Tony Khan. Tony Khan, Fightful Select notes that the new deal between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery is, ongoing and things are looking good. And I quote, a substantial offer has been made to AEW programming. And, I think it's about time. I wish it would have came a little sooner, to be honest, so I don't have to pay for AEW All In because I have HBO Max. I'm just kidding. No, no. I think this is great. I think this is great for Tony Khan. the wrestling promotion AEW isn't as bad as what people think. Just because, you see on Ringside News, and I'm not trying to crap on Ringside News. I love Ringside News. Inside the Road, cage side seats. I love all those. I love all those, I read a lot of wrestling storylines from that, stuff like that. Wrestling, like WrestleMania on YouTube.com. I watch a lot of those things, but a lot of them kind of like to fixate on the fact that, oh, AEW's viewerships is, kind of going down again. Like where technically does those viewerships kind of come from? Like, you know what I mean? Like nowadays during this digital era, you can stream a lot of what you're seeing. Like you have YouTube.com, you also have Tubi, you have a lot of stuff, a lot of ways you can watch AEW. And having them finally land a contract to kind of broadcast their pay-per-views on HBO Max, I feel like it's great. I feel like overall it's amazing. I feel like you can't, whenever you see those headlines where, oh, AEW, this, then the other, Collision's down again, Rampage is down again. What is Tony Khan gonna do? Like, dude, nowadays, like, who cares? Like, if they get over like 200,000, 300,000, like TNA, Ring of Honor, and like a New Japan Professional, dude, they're getting like 30,000 to like on a good day like 70,000. Like it's not like it was back in the day. It's not like it was back in the day, 1,010%. So it's kind of time. It's time to mature a little bit. You can't compare AEW to WWE anymore, and if you do, you're a scumbag. I'm just kidding. No, but not trying to protect AEW, not trying to throw shade at WWE or people who like to expunge in terms of writing articles about increases going down. AEW is a failed experiment. AEW would never be WCW. Like what I mean? Like it's time to put it to rest. Time to put it to rest. All right, next we have Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose announces her next wrestling appearance will be an independent wrestling promotion, Black Label Pros crowning Glory event September 4th. I want to see I want to see Mandy Rose come back. I feel like randomly if you see Mandy Rose come back, it would be awesome. The way she was kind of let go because the whole don't want to get too much into it. But basically she was basically showing graphic photos on her, getting people to go on OnlyFans and stuff like that. And it's too much to my chagrin. She's guess a side hustle. I guess I don't know how to explain it. Like I get why you would fire somebody like that. WWE is a wholesome, they're PG, not PG-13 just yet. But then you got to worry about stuff like that. Like a lot of times I read an article where they were comparing it to like if a high school teacher or I think they said no, not college. Like if a high school, basically if a teacher, if you had a teacher basically had an OnlyFans and the administration inside like the higher ups in terms of the educational system in that district find out that you had like an OnlyFans, you would get canned just like that, like bam, like you know what I mean. So now that you kind of have you know kind of post like but it's not, I don't know. You can't really compare apples to oranges here. So, Mandy Rose, I would love to see her back in NXT. She obviously lost her NXT title to Roxanne Perez, but I think she'd be great. I think she'd be great for a comeback. It would completely shock everybody and be pretty badass. All right, next, John Cena addresses the potential of him having a 17th time title reign. He said, and I quote, he's been a part-timer for so long. He hasn't won a match since 2018. Kind of downplaying it a little bit. And, I'm not really mad at John. I'm not, I know he's a realist. I do feel like WWE, sort of kind of owes this guy another title reign to kind of be the best of all time. Because right now you have Triple H, who's amazing. You have Ric Flair, who was most predominantly in the NWA. And I'm not trying to throw shade at the NWA, but as opposed to nowadays wrestling, like not a lot of people know the NWA. So I'm not saying that the name doesn't really mean that much. But, the best ever to lace up his boots to represent a wrestling promotion is John Cena. John Cena, no no allegations, no negative publicity. He kept it clean 1,010%, even during his divorce. And I don't know, that kind of thing, you got to respect that. You got to respect that. Like this guy, He cares about the business, he cares about the kids. He's still the leader of, Make-A-Wish Foundation. People love John Cena. I love John Cena. I think he's great. He's a Hollywood star. He's a wholesome human being. He's an amazing wrestler. Just an overall incredible human being. So, John Cena, definitely, still kicking ass. Obviously, his retirement tour is upon us at the beginning of January. So, yeah. And lastly, I have a question for all you guys, something that I read online, that do you guys think that The Undertaker losing his streak at WrestleMania was a mistake? Do you think, let me repeat that, do you think The Undertaker losing his streak at WrestleMania was a mistake by WWE? And my answer is yes. My take is yeah. Like, The Undertaker, like, no matter how big he was in WWF, coming on to be WWE, he never really had those title accolades in terms of that. Has he ever held the Intercontinental Championship? I don't even know. I don't think so. World champion a couple of times. Basically, the only thing The Undertaker really kind of had was the streak, and it was pretty badass. And WWE messed with it. Well, Vince McMahon messed with it. And, I think 1,010% that they should have let The Undertaker kind of keep the streak there. Obviously, let me know in the comment section how you guys feel about that. I feel like The Undertaker, he is badass. And I'm not, trying to base success in the WWE or the professional wrestling spectrum based on championships, because there's been a lot of wrestling stars who's made a dent in professional wrestling without winning so many championships, like the Ultimate Warrior. Obviously, like you had the Ravishing Rick Rude, and they weren't that crazy, like, you know what I mean? But I don't know, just go ahead and let me know your opinions on that. All right, guys. Hey, that's my show for today. Hope you guys liked it. Thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Follow the GSMC Sports Network. Here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity 1,010% of the time. Also, follow us on TikTok, Twitter/X, Instagram, Facebook for more content and updates. And like I always say, if I haven't made you a wrestling fan by now, we got my man Nelson with the GSMC Basketball Show. We also have my boy Chris Shepard on Fantasy Sports. Make sure you check that out. We have my boy Tommy with College Sports. College football starts on Saturday. I think it starts on Saturday. There's no like Thursday or Friday night football, right? I'm not a huge college guy. I gotta be honest. I'm not a huge college guy. We have a couple of NFL podcasts that you guys want to listen to, find out about your, the hottest takes in terms of what your teams, have to offer in terms of them. We got Kenneth with the GSMC Football Podcast. We have my boy Manny with the Chip Shop Football Podcast. We also have Emran with soccer coming up in 16 minutes. Make sure you catch that. We got TJ with sports. We got we got Sports by GSMC with Jeremy. So yeah, make sure you be a part of our, not wrestling landscape, our sports landscape. We got the Andrew Tate Podcast, your perfect mix of sports and entertainment. So make sure you tune in to that. So I think that's it for me today. Obviously, it's a beautiful Wednesday. Hope you guys enjoy your hump day. Hope you guys get a good night's rest. For those who haven't eaten dinner yet, make sure you eat some dinner. I'm just kidding. You guys are beautiful, but most importantly, love you.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to